Picky eating habits turn daily meals into power struggles between children and their food. This creates anxiety and frustration for everyone involved. Research proves that family dinners can substantially change these challenging behaviors. Children who watch their parents eat certain foods become more likely to try them without resistance. Breaking picky eating habits feels overwhelming, especially with every meal turning into a battle. The good news is that just one family dinner per week can make a real difference in your child's openness to try new foods. Getting children involved in cooking and sharing mealtimes together builds stronger family bonds. This creates a positive environment that naturally leads to better eating habits. Let's explore practical strategies to break picky eating habits and turn mealtimes into enjoyable family moments. You'll discover proven techniques that work for children of all ages and learn to recognize signs that indicate the need for extra support. Understanding why children develop picky eating habits. Parents need to look beyond simple stubbornness to understand why children become picky eaters. Studies show that picky eating affects 14 to 50% of preschool-aged children. This makes it a common challenge for families of all backgrounds and cultures. Normal developmental phases versus problematic patterns. Parents feel relieved when they find out that selective eating is often just a normal developmental milestone. Most children peak in their pickiness around age 3 as they start becoming more independent and test boundaries. Food neophobia, the reluctance or avoidance of new foods, affects 50 to 75% of children and usually starts between 18 to 24 months of age. This wariness of new foods played a role in human survival. Dr. Catherine Dalsgaard puts it well. When a toddler can wander off out of a caregiver's sight and potentially pick things off the ground to put into his mouth, nature has instilled in him a wary sense that says, "This is a new food, and I won't like it." Children's growth rate naturally slows down during toddlerhood, so they need fewer calories. This contributes to what looks like pickiness. Many kids start preferring safe foods with predictable textures and flavors during this time, often packaged or processed items. Some signs show that picky eating has become a real problem that needs attention. Eating fewer than 20 different foods, weight loss or not gaining enough weight, getting very upset or having tantrums at mealtimes, refusing foods they used to eat, not getting enough nutrients for proper development. Research shows that while most kids grow out of normal picky eating, about 25 to 35% face more lasting feeding challenges. This number goes up to 40 to 80% in children with developmental disabilities. The role of taste sensitivity and sensory processing. Some children's selective eating comes from real differences in how they experience food. Supertasters have genetic variations in their taste receptor genes that make them extra sensitive to bitter tastes. These kids might find vegetables unbearably bitter, while others barely notice the taste. Sensory processing makes a big difference too. Kids with sensory sensitivities notice food textures, temperatures, smells, and how food looks in ways most adults can't understand. Parents often can't believe their child's ability to spot tiny differences between similar brands or notice when foods touch on the plate. Kids show this sensitivity in different ways. Some prefer strong flavors and crunchy foods that give them more sensory input. Others like bland, soft foods that don't challenge their senses too much. Fruits and vegetables can be especially tricky because they don't always feel or taste the same. This unpredictability can make sensitive kids anxious. One parent in a study said it well. Having a child who can sense subtle differences in food, despite it appearing and looking the same to the majority, is one aspect of sensory sensitivity that often left parents somewhat frustrated. How anxiety and control issues affect food choices. Anxiety and picky eating feed into each other, creating a tough cycle to break. Research shows that anxious children tend to become picky eaters more often. This happens because anxiety can upset their stomachs, reduce their appetite, and make them associate bad feelings with eating. Kids also use food to show their growing independence. They can control what goes into their mouths at a time when they're learning to be more independent. This explains why pushing kids to eat usually backfires. They see it as a challenge to their independence. Parents' worries can make things worse. Studies show that parents of picky eaters often feel inadequate, stressed, and guilty. Their anxiety about mealtimes and nutrition can create pressure that makes selective eating worse. Researchers point out that showing stress about your child's eating habits or worry about their weight can make them associate food with negative feelings, leading to more picky eating. The atmosphere during meals plays a big part in either helping or hurting picky eating habits. Stressful mealtimes and controlling behavior lead to more food refusal. Turning meals into power struggles often makes picky eating worse, not better. Understanding these different factors, normal development, sensory differences, and anxiety, helps parents address picky eating with more knowledge and compassion. Signs your child's picky eating needs intervention. Parents often worry about what their kids eat. It's hard to tell the difference between normal fussy eating and habits that need expert help. Parents who learn to spot real warning signs can tackle eating problems early. Nutritional red flags to watch for. Your child's picky eating might need professional help if you notice certain physical signs. Changes in growth patterns are one of the biggest warning signs. Your child needs evaluation if they lose weight, don't gain enough weight, or move away from their normal growth curve. Physical signs that might show eating problems include frequent stomach issues like constipation. This affects up to 30% of school-age children and hits picky eaters harder than others. Not enough nutrients that lead to tiredness or health problems. Trouble with chewing or swallowing certain foods. Signs they need more water, like fewer tears or dark urine. The amount your child eats at one meal isn't as important as their overall nutrition for healthy growth. Kids naturally eat different amounts at meals, but they usually get enough food throughout the day. If there are no physical problems, your pediatrician can help ease your worries. When food aversions affect social situations, food pickiness becomes a real problem when it gets in the way of daily life. Studies show that being too picky about food can make life harder for kids. What looks like simple food choices starts to get in the way of normal childhood fun. Here's how food fears can affect social life. Kids might avoid lunch with their friends at school because they're anxious about what others eat. On top of that, they might skip birthday parties or other fun events where food is served. Family life takes a hit when extreme pickiness takes over. Fights over food can damage the bond between parent and child. Research shows that troubled family environments and poor eating habits go hand in hand. If family meals bring stress instead of joy, you might have a serious issue. Distinguishing between priorities and problematic behaviors. You can spot if your child's picky eating is normal or needs attention by looking at specific patterns. Normal picky eating usually means short-term food choices that don't hurt health or happiness. Problem eating looks quite different. One clear sign is when children eat very few foods, usually less than 20 different items. These kids don't just dislike new foods, they become very upset. They might gag, throw up, cry, or have tantrums when they see new foods. There's another reason to pay attention. When kids stop eating foods they used to enjoy. This is very different from normal growth phases where children slowly try more foods, even if it takes time. Some kids create strict rules about food texture, color, or how it looks on the plate. To name just one example, they might avoid foods with seeds or only eat foods of one color. Kids with autism spectrum disorder often choose very specific foods. Many stick to a beige diet that's mostly bread and pasta. The right help depends on spotting these patterns early. Parents who notice worrying signs should write down what they see and talk to their doctor. Forcing diet changes might make things worse. The psychology behind successful habit changes. Getting past picky eating takes more than just putting new foods on the plate. You need to change how everyone thinks about mealtimes. Research shows that success with picky eaters depends less on the food choices and more on how kids experience food. Parents can make lasting changes without power struggles by understanding these psychological principles. Creating positive food associations. Lasting change starts with good experiences around food. Kids develop their food priorities through associative conditioning. They connect foods with how they experience them. Mealtimes that turn into battles make kids link foods with stress and resistance instead of enjoyment. Research shows that kids who link foods with good feelings are much more likely to accept and enjoy those foods later. A researcher points out, if you approach mealtimes with calmness, openness, and enjoyment, your child will associate food with positive emotions and be more receptive to trying new things. Here's what works to create these good associations. Make food visually appealing. Kids eat with their eyes first. Colorful presentations and fun arrangements make healthy options more inviting. Connect through family meals. Studies show that eating together leads to better eating habits and nutrition. These shared moments create good memories beyond just the food. Incorporate sensory exploration. Kids who use all their senses, smell, touch, taste, while preparing food feel more comfortable with new foods before they eat them. It's worth mentioning that early food experiences shape lifelong habits. Parents who create good interactions with food help their kids develop healthy eating patterns that last into adulthood. Reducing pressure and food anxiety. Psychology research reveals something unexpected. Pressure to eat, even gentle nudging, usually backfires. Kids who feel forced typically become more resistant. Studies show that restricting foods makes kids want them more, while pushing them to eat certain foods makes kids like them less. Parents' worry makes this worse. Research finds that if you are overly stressed about your child's eating habits or express anxiety about their weight or food choices, it can create a negative association with food and lead to picky eating. This creates a tough cycle where parents' natural concerns about nutrition accidentally reinforce the behaviors they want to change. Better approaches focus on creating relaxed environments where trying new foods feels safe. Offer without expecting kids to eat. Never use food as rewards or punishment. Remove time pressure from meals. Don't mix mealtime behavior with food acceptance. A relaxed, pressure-free atmosphere lets kids explore food at their own speed. One specialist notes, for kids who are more resistant, we factor in a reward system because trying new foods can be hard. Building intrinsic motivation to try new foods. The best long-term changes happen when kids develop their own desire to try new foods instead of responding to outside pressure. This inner motivation grows through several ways. Kids who help plan and make meals feel invested in the outcome. They develop curiosity and ownership that makes them want to taste the food. This works because children who are picky eaters may refuse to try new foods, but are less likely to reject foods they help make. Teaching kids about food helps them understand why healthy eating matters. Instead of just saying, "Eat this because I said so," explaining how different foods help bodies grow builds meaningful motivation, especially for school-age kids. Smart reward systems can build momentum toward inner motivation. The key is using rewards as stepping stones rather than the end goal. A behavior analyst explains, shaping is a process in which successive approximations of a target behavior are reinforced until the target behavior is reached. This step-by-step approach works very well for new foods. Understanding these psychological principles, positive associations, less pressure, and inner motivation, helps parents change how they handle picky eating and improve their children's relationship with food. Age-appropriate strategies to break picky eating habits. Each childhood stage offers unique ways to deal with picky eating habits. Your child's developmental stage should guide your approach to create better strategies without mealtime battles. Toddlers, 1 to 3 years working with natural neophobia. Food neophobia, the fear of new foods, usually shows up between 18 to 24 months as a natural protective mechanism. This biological response protected curious toddlers from eating harmful substances in the past. Their resistance to new foods isn't defiance, but often comes from instinct. Research shows toddlers may need to try a food 10 to 15 times before they accept it. You should offer tiny tastes among familiar favorites instead of pressuring them. Food bridging techniques work really well at this stage, connecting new foods with accepted ones based on similar colors, textures, or flavors. Regular meal schedules and limited grazing will naturally increase their willingness to try new foods. Note that toddlers' growth rates naturally slow after infancy, which reduces their appetite. Preschoolers, 3 to 5 years getting them involved in food decisions. Preschoolers do better when they have some control over food choices. Their participation in grocery shopping, meal planning, and food preparation creates ownership that helps them accept more foods. Studies show children who help make meals prefer fruits and vegetables more. This age group responds well to visual appeal. Creative food shapes or colorful presentations can spark their imagination. Food pairing works well too. Try serving broccoli, bitter, with cheese, salty, to balance flavors. School-age children, education and peer influence. School-age kids understand nutrition better through educational approaches. Simple, age-appropriate language helps them grasp food's purpose. like explaining healthy foods as those that help keep my heart, muscles, and bones strong. Their friends' influence grows stronger during these years. Kids are more likely to try and enjoy foods when they see their peers eating them. Even children who strongly dislike vegetables change their minds after watching their friends eat them enthusiastically. Family meals play a vital role. Children who eat regular family meals tend to eat more fruits, vegetables, and grains. Keeping phones and TV away during meals helps maintain these positive effects. Tweens and teens, independence and nutrition knowledge. Older children need approaches that honor their independence. Teens make better food choices when they feel respected for their decision-making abilities. Even longtime picky eaters can expand their diets with the right guidance. Talk about food likes and dislikes outside mealtimes. Use descriptive language to understand what they enjoy about certain foods. Building on their current preferences helps them gradually accept new foods. Social factors matter even more as tweens and teens value peer relationships highly. Studies confirm that teens adjust their eating habits to fit in with friends or because of peer pressure. Group cooking activities or shared meals with friends who eat healthy can make use of this positive peer influence. Communication techniques that transform mealtime battles. The words we choose to use during meals have incredible power. They can either spark or calm battles with picky eaters. Simple comments can shape a child's relationship with food and sometimes work against our efforts to improve their eating habits. Language that encourages versus language that backfires. Research shows that calling foods good or bad creates moral judgments. This leads to guilt and shame around eating choices. More than that, saying things like, "Eat that for me," or "If you don't eat one more bite, I will be mad," teaches children to eat to please others rather than satisfy their hunger. The solution lies in neutral, descriptive language. "This kiwi is sweet like strawberries," instead of "This is healthy, you should eat it." Is your stomach telling you that you're full, rather than "You have to finish everything on your plate"? Everyone likes different foods, instead of "See, that didn't taste so bad, did it?" Setting realistic expectations and boundaries. Mealtime communication needs clear boundaries delivered in a relaxed tone. Dr. Dalsgaard points out that many parents are very shy about setting limits around food in a way they're not shy about setting bedtime limits. Regular routines around mealtimes create predictability that helps reduce anxiety for picky eaters. The division of responsibility in feeding offers a key strategy. Parents decide what, when, and where food is served, while children choose whether and how much to eat. This approach gives everyone their proper role and helps avoid power struggles. Validating feelings while maintaining healthy standards. Your child's genuine feelings about food matter, even as you retain control of boundaries. Many children feel real stress about trying new foods. Simple supportive statements like, "I know this looks different from what you usually eat," or "You don't have to eat it if you don't want it," can help. A positive mealtime dialogue without pressure often leads children to explore new foods naturally. This helps break picky eating habits as children discover foods at their own pace. When and how to seek professional support. Sometimes parents need professional help when their child's picky eating goes beyond normal development phases. My work with families who don't deal very well with selective eating has taught me to spot when home solutions aren't enough. Differentiating between typical pickiness and feeding disorders. Normal selectivity is different from severe picky eating. Here are key warning signs to watch. Strong resistance to trying new foods even after multiple attempts. Growing dislike of previously enjoyed foods. Intense stress around foods they don't prefer. Problems with weight gain or weight loss. Nutrition gaps that affect development. Food-related anxiety that affects social situations. Research shows 25% of children face feeding challenges, especially in their early years. This number goes up in children with developmental disabilities. Studies also show all but one of these picky eaters continue their selective habits beyond 2 to 3 years. Types of specialists who can help. Your pediatrician should be your first stop if your child's eating patterns worry you. They can guide you to specialists like speech-language pathologists or occupational therapists who focus on feeding disorders, psychologists who specialize in feeding therapy, gastroenterologists for medical checks, registered dietitians to assess nutrition needs. Look for professionals who have treated many feeding cases. Trust your instincts. You know your child best. Get another opinion if you feel your concerns need more attention. What to expect from professional intervention. The first step involves a complete evaluation of feeding history, food diaries, and possible swallow studies. Each child needs different treatment approaches that might include reward systems for trying new foods, therapy to help with texture sensitivities, treatment that involves the whole family, special therapy to address food-related anxiety. Early treatment leads to better outcomes. Children who stay underweight too long face bigger risks to their growth and development. Good treatment looks at both physical and emotional health because eating a range of foods and enjoying a meal are critical to a well-lived life. Conclusion. Parents need patience, understanding, and consistent effort to help their children overcome picky eating habits. Positive experiences at mealtimes shape children's eating patterns better than arguments about food choices. A parent's understanding of their child's developmental stage and sensory needs helps them direct food-related challenges better. Some children naturally outgrow their selective eating patterns. Others might need help from professionals. A safe environment lets children learn about new foods without pressure and allows their natural curiosity to grow. Small, steady steps bring better results than big changes. Every positive food interaction builds a child's confidence for future experiences. This applies to both cautious toddlers and selective teens. Parents should trust their instincts when they spot warning signs. Early professional help often brings better outcomes. Age-appropriate strategies and positive communication can turn stressful meal times into moments of family connection. The goal reaches beyond expanding food choices. We want to help children build a healthy relationship with food that lasts a lifetime.